Good morning. It is August 11th. And I just want to say it was so wonderful seeing so many of you out on Sunday night to our barbecue in the park. The weather was absolutely perfect, and it was so great to see so many of you. And you don't have to have food at a fellowship event, but I think we'll all agree that food and fellowship go hand in hand, and it was so great to be able to get together and have some food and just spend some time catching up and talking to so many of you. And it was so great that there was so many of you came out. It was really good to see. So yes, it was a good event. So thank you for all coming out. So it is August 11th, and it's time for what happened in history on August 11th. Several cool things for this date. In 1866, the world's first roller rink opened in Newport, Rhode Island. In 1885, there was $100,000 raised for the pedestal that the Statue of Liberty sits on. In 1929, Babe Ruth became the first professional baseball player to hit 500 home runs. In 1933, San Luis Potosi, Mexico reached a temperature of 136 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 57.8 degrees Celsius. That is hot. That is really hot. In 1934, the first federal prisoners arrived at Alcatraz in San Francisco Bay. I don't know if any of you have been to Alcatraz Island in San Francisco. I've been to San Francisco a couple times, but never been out to the island. I made the mistake of thinking I was going to go there and then go to the island and see Alcatraz, but the waiting list was for days. You have to book your trip out to the island days ahead of time, so I never ever got to go out and see it. Anyway, in 1954, the BC Lions played their first CFL game, and they lost to the Montreal Alouettes 22-0. Not a great start to to your very first game. Anyway, in 1973, the movie American Graffiti opened. I'm sure you all remember that. In 1978, on this day, was the funeral of Pope Paul VI, held in the Vatican. And I don't know if you care about this, but on this day, Hulk Hogan is 67 years old. That's August 11th in history. Anyway, our verse this morning is from Proverbs. And this is one of those ones that I have to say, ouch. I am not a person that takes criticism well a lot of the time. I'm a lot better than I used to be. Never used to be able to take it well at all. I'm a lot better. And this one is really hard. The verse says, "Do not reprove a scoffer, he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will still be wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning." Great wisdom from Proverbs. And the thing about criticism is, it's received differently depending on who is giving it. I'll say that again. Criticism is received differently depending on who is giving it. I think you can all agree with that, because some people that are giving criticism, it's not received well, sometimes because it's not given well. And a lot of times it's easier to receive from somebody we respect and love. But that's not always the case either, because sometimes it's those people that we love that can be very, very critical of us. So it's a real balance here sometimes. I personally have invited people that I respect and love. I've invited them to point out faults. If they see things in me that are unpleasant, if they see me doing things that are not right or are just not pleasant, I've invited these people to tell me. And if you invite somebody to do that, then it's hard to not receive it in a good way if you've invited them to do that. So I want to be a better person. I truly do. And so I don't mind if somebody, points something out in me that is not pleasant. If I have an attitude that's wrong, if I've done something that's, well, may not be right, I've invited these people to tell me. And other people see things in us sometimes that we don't see in ourselves. And so a lot of times when somebody points something out in us, it may come as a surprise to us because we've never, maybe the attitude we're displaying, we didn't think there was anything wrong. But friends and family and people that love us, sometimes they're able to point things out that we did not see in ourselves. And that's not a bad thing. And sometimes the way somebody says something makes it a little difficult to receive it also. Um, Sometimes the way criticism is pointed out to us, even if it's constructive criticism, it's not said in a way that's easy for us to receive. And so sometimes we react in a way that's not very nice, maybe. However, it's always good to step back and just think. If somebody points something out in you, and even if you don't react right, it's a good idea to sit back and think about it and ask yourself and pray about it. Of course, pray about it. And just ask God and ask yourself, are they correct? Is this something that I should really work on? And even if you didn't react right in the first place, you can always go back to this person later and say, you know what? I've had an opportunity to think about what you said and pray about it, and you may be right. You may be right. And it's always good to examine yourself. If somebody points something out in you, it's always good to step back and examine yourself and just ask God and ask yourself, is this something I need to work on? Anyway, once again, just my thoughts. Talk to you soon.